Shalom. First, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakah, Kodash. Double honors to the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. I wanted to do this lesson. The elder apostle Tahar had mentioned, in one of his videos concerning, father and son prophets. It dawned on me. Well, it didn't dawn on me, but as I heard that, a few scriptures came to mind. All right, understanding that, being a prophet isn't a thing that's passed through lineage necessarily. Okay, it's something that's unique to the individual spirit. Okay, so if you're a prophet, that doesn't necessarily mean that your son, all right, is gonna be a prophet. And I have a couple accounts here, all right, that we're gonna go into to show you, all right, that no matter how great the prophet was, that the saying it doesn't go the same for their son. All right, lest the Lord, all right, decides that he wants to make, the son, all right, a prophet. Now here's you gotta understand that when the Most High created all, when he had our spirits created, you had those spirits that were created specifically to be prophets. Okay. And then you had everybody else. Now, through the different incarnations, all right, prophets have come, in different positions. Some were brothers, some were relatives, some, just like that. So the Lord could have it to where you might be a prophet and he might have another prophet come through your loins. But it does not mean that because you're a prophet, your son became a prophet. No. All right. If your son is a prophet, that means he was a prophet from the beginning. If he's not, if that's not the case, then that's not the case. And you'll find out there's certain cases where you might try, now doesn't mean you just leave your son and let him, go out. You of course you bring him up, all right, in the right ways. But understand that there's a difference between being taught and brought up as an Israelite and being groomed to be a prophet. They're two different things. Because you're an Israelite does not make you a prophet. Okay, a prophet is a man with a special job within the nation of Israel. So you can bring up your son, teach him the high holy days and the name of the Lord and the customs and things to do. But that does not necessarily mean that they're going to be on the highways and byways, prophesying there with you. That is something the Lord decides. Okay. So now this is John chapter 15, verse 16. It says, "Ye have not chosen me, but I have chosen you." See, when a prophet, and really, that just reminded me, I could hold this on deck. Um, is it? Let's just paraphrase it. Born new. Blue letter. You gotta type it in certain ways. The Okay, let's go to the book of Jeremiah if I can find it. Ordained thee to be a prophet. I think it's in the first chapter. Let's just check Jeremiah 1. Jeremiah 1. Yep, Jeremiah 1 and 5. Okay, so we're just going to hold this on deck, right? So the Lord says, John, it says in the book of John that what? Ye have not chosen me, but I have chosen you. Now, to serve the Lord, okay, is basically choosing the Lord, choosing righteousness over wickedness. All right, and if you're a prophet of the Lord, understand that that's not by choice. Okay, we didn't say, hey, I want to be a prophet, and then boom, we just majored in prophecy and became prophets. No. Okay, the Lord pulled us from whatever we thought we were going to do, all right, and said, that's not your lot. This is your lot. So he said, I have chosen you. And that goes the same for your brother, your father, your son, your cousin. You may tell them, but as Paul said, he planted, Apollos watered, but the Most High gave the increase. So if your son or whoever it is a prophet, they will wake up in due time, because just like, hey, maybe you might have woken up by the Spirit. The Lord might have, had it to where you came across the brothers or you saw a video. That was in due time. So if they are a prophet, they're going to wake up. The Lord knows how to do it. You know, it's not for us to necessarily try to force it on them because then you're going to be wasting your time. So it says that ye should go and bring forth fruit, all right, and that your fruit should remain, that whatsoever ye shall ask of the Father in my name, he may give it to you. Okay, so we're supposed to, what? We've been set up to go and bring forth more laborers, okay, that they may stay and teach and continue the cycle. And you have spiritual sons as well, like Paul and Timothy, you know. Um, okay, so now let's go here. This is First Corinthians chapter 14, verse 32. And the spirits of the prophets are subject to the prophets. Okay, so if you're a prophet, that spirit of prophecy of being a prophet is going to be subject to you. Every time you come back, you're going to have you're going to be in that lot to prophesy. Okay, now you just because you have a son in this generation, it does not mean that the spirit that's in your son was the same spirit that was in your son in the previous generation. It might be a completely different person. Okay, but in this generation, it just manifested as whoever it is being your son. So you got to understand that it's when dealing with a prophet, it's not biological; it's a spiritual thing. You can't pass off righteousness, all right, necessarily through the physical seed. Okay, and we're gonna go into some precepts explaining it. But this is Jeremiah chapter 1, verse 5. It says, before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee. And an example, even Yahushai's line. Yes, Yahushai was righteous, okay, King David, but guess what? Solomon's sons, all right, some of them were wicked as hell. When you read throughout the book of Kings and Chronicles, all right, the kings of Judah were descendants of King David and Solomon, because that line from David all the way to Yahushai was never severed, okay? But were they all righteous just because of King David and King Solomon? No. Okay, so you don't pass righteousness through your genealogy necessarily. That's a spiritual thing. Okay, so it says Jeremiah 1 and 5. Before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee, and before thou camest forth out of the womb, I sanctified thee, and I ordained thee to be a prophet unto the nations. All right, so if the Lord has that set up for whoever it is, you don't even need to do anything. Naturally, they will grow into their lot. You know, But I mean, of course, as I'm not a father, but as a father, when you have a son, you want them, especially when you're a prophet, you're doing the work of the Lord, you want them to be involved, you know. But understand that everybody has their lot. That might not necessarily be the lot, for whoever it is. It might not even be your son. It might be your brother or your friend or your father. Somebody you really want, but it's not up to us. So now let's get some examples. This is the book of 1 Samuel, chapter 7, verse 15. And this is Samuel, all right, who was a judge of Israel and a prophet, all right, a major prophet. Okay, so let's read. And Samuel judged Israel all the days of his life. And from a youth, the Lord was dealing with Samuel all the way into his old age. Okay, so you would think, well, verse 16, and he went from year to year in circuit to Bethel and Gilgal and Mizpah and judged Israel in all those places. And his return was to Ramah, for there was his house. And there he judged Israel, and there he built an altar unto the Lord. So he was a righteous man, a prophet. And it came to pass, when Samuel was old, that he made his sons judges over Israel. Now the name of his firstborn was Joel, and the name of his second was Abiah. They were judges in Beersheba, and his sons walked not in his ways, but turned aside after lucre, and took bribes and perverted judgment. All right, so this is a clear-cut example that Samuel was a great prophet, a righteous man. But these were his sons. Okay, and you see how it says they walk not in his ways? Just because Samuel was a prophet did not make his sons Joel and Abiah prophets automatically. Samuel couldn't make them prophets. Okay, neither could he make them righteous just because he was righteous. Okay, that's not how it works. Everybody's spirit, as much as we're all related, we're all different at the same time. Okay, that's why everybody gets, your descendant isn't going to be righteous just because of you. Okay, that's something that the Lord decides. Okay, the Lord created those spirits like that. So from the beginning, okay, that's how the spirits were created. Some were different and others were different as well. Okay, and the spirits that were righteous, the elect spirits, are always going to be in that righteous mindset. And those that are not righteous, the non-elect spirits, all right, are always going to be in that lot, well, until the kingdom. Okay, but throughout the different generations before we get to the kingdom, or before this time, they were going to keep coming back with the same kind of spirit. So Joel and Abiah, all right, as we see, walk not in the ways of Samuel. More than likely, they were not people who in the past would have been righteous men. Okay, as it says, they perverted judgment. So they might have been. Hey, let's just say, for example, say Joel and Abiah were the, Jannies and Jambries, or some two other wicked people, right? And then this time they just came back as Samuel's sons. If you're looking at it in the carnal, you'll think, oh, Joel and Abiah, man, they must be shit. They must be on fire. You see their father? That's not how it works. See, you can inherit genetic skill, you can inherit height, you can inherit the carnal things, but the spiritual things, that's not how it works. Okay? So it says, and his sons walked not in his ways, but turned aside after lucre, and took bribes, and perverted judgment. Then all the elders of Israel gathered themselves together, and came unto Samuel to Ramah, and said unto him, Behold, thou art old, and thy sons walk not in thy ways. What were the ways of Samuel? He obeyed the Lord. He was righteous. He was a prophet. These things his sons didn't do, but they were his sons. It says, and Samuel prayed unto the Lord, and then it goes on, so on and so forth. Oh, whoa, sorry. I skipped a verse. Let me continue from here. It says, now make us a king to judge us like all the nations. And then it says, it displeased Samuel, so on and so forth. Salakia, but that's one example. Now let's go here to King David. All right, and King David was also a prophet, as we're gonna read here. He was a king and a prophet. People think they leave out that part. When you read in certain Psalms that King David wrote, there's prophecies in there, man. Okay? It says, men and brethren, let me freely speak unto you of this patriarch David. This is Acts 2 and 29. That he is both dead and buried, and his sepulchre is with us unto this day. Therefore, being a prophet, all right, that and knowing that the Most High had sworn with an oath to him that of the fruit of his loins, according to the flesh, he would raise up Hamashiach to sit on his throne. So we've proved here that David was a prophet. But what about David's sons? Let's take a look. This is one of David's sons, Absalom, right? David was a man after the Most High's heart. So let's see if that spirit passed on to his sons. Now this is 2 Samuel chapter 16, verse 20. Then said Absalom to Ahithophel, give counsel among you what we shall do. And Ahithophel said unto Absalom, go in unto thy father's concubines, which he hath left to keep the house, and all Israel shall hear that thou art abhorred of thy father. Then shall the hands of all that are with thee be strong. So they spread Absalom a tent upon the top of the house, and Absalom went in unto his father's concubines in the sight of all Israel. And that was a wicked act. Okay, so now the question is, Absalom being a son, all right, of King David, who was a prophet and a king, and a man after the Most High's heart, how come Absalom wasn't a prophet? How come he wasn't righteous? How come he, committed these vile, wicked acts? Okay, because once again, righteousness, or the lot of a prophet, or really the lot of an elect, okay, it's a spiritual thing. The elect were created from the foundation of the earth. So the elect don't get created through the different incarnations. Oh, well, if I'm an elect, then my son is going to be an elect, and his son is going to be an elect, and so on and so forth. That's not how it works. Okay? That's not how it works, man. Everything, all right, at the end of the day is ordained by the Heavenly Father, especially when it comes to things like that, of the spiritual things. Okay? That's not up for us to decide. We can't, you could teach your son 1,000 scriptures. You could teach your brother 1,000 scriptures. You could teach your father 1,000 scriptures. But if they're not of the elect, they're not going to get it. And if they're not a prophet, They could get it. They could be of the elect. They could understand it, but they won't have the desire to prophesy. You might be trying to get somebody to, yo, you got to do it, hey, but at the end of the day, it's the Most High who decides that, But that's not an excuse for, for people to, oh, well, I'm not a prophet. Hey, look, ultimately, the Lord knows who is who and who's supposed to be doing what, you know. So that's pretty much it. Lord willing, this was edifying unto the elect. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachak Wadash. Until next time, Shalom.